Ayo, we made this. Ammo 7 did it again.
So, welcome to another episode of Big Ego Media. Got another special guest, goes by the name of JAJA SOZE. Is it JAJA SOZE or JAJA SOZE? So, like,
you know it was JAJA SOZE, but I used to say JAJA SOZE as well. It just started good. But yeah, so people started saying JAJA SOZE as well. Like,
it's got that ring to it. It's got that cartel ring to it, kind of thing.
Yes, I think it was Montana, you know, that was saying SOZE, and then it kind of stuck. Yeah, but it was SOZE originally.
Yeah. I mean, you're someone who, you've done a lot of podcasts, but we dig deep.
Yeah.
We dig deep when we do our one, and it's like you're a pioneer. And I think, do you think you get your flowers?
Yeah, I get flowers to a certain extent. You know what it is here? I get flowers like in real life. Like, you see, like the people, the industry, not as much. The industry to a certain extent, but the real people, like on the streets and that, and on the roads, normal civilians, like they show me mad respect, mad love, and yeah, I get my flowers definitely. Yeah, I can't say I don't get my flowers from the normal people. They definitely show me mad love.
So in regards to just like yourself and how it started, like we always start from the beginning, like where you're from, where did you grow up? Because your accent is a mixture of a lot of different variations, and just let us know like where exactly is it from?
Yeah, my accent's, I'm from Birmingham, so yeah, I've always had that mad little twang, and it's like, it's mad, it's not even London, it's like Brixton accent mixed with Birmingham accent. And yeah, it's also madness. And obviously back in the days when I used to first rap, I was rapping American accent, so all that twisted together just made me I was all over the place with the way that my voice is and that. But yeah, I've always had like a unique voice. I still got my voice now, that's just my voice. But yeah.
I mean, growing up in Birmingham, how different is it to sort of London?
Birmingham's are kind of the same. Birmingham there's similarities. There's similarities, but it's the same actually. Hood's a hood, but it's just like, as far as like the cultural side, I think Birmingham has a much bigger cultural presence. Like the Asian presence, like you got the Hindus, you got the Muslims, you got the white guys, you got the Brums, you got the Rastas, and that they had more of like a cultural, like people kind of like kept their cultural side of things in their communities. Like the communities had, like it was like their identity was like strong. You could see the presence of it. Whereas London is a bit more like everyone's kind of like trying to hide from their culture and their kind of like their true identity. That's what I found. But that's kind of the only difference. And obviously there's, when I was younger, there was more like the machine presence was more present than London was. Yeah.
So what part of Birmingham did you grow up in?
I was born in Handsworth in Birmingham. Yeah, so Handsworth, yeah. So I grew up in, before like the whole kind of split, it was like everyone was kind of like everywhere, and then it kind of like got split up into the Burgers and Johnny's, and yeah. So, but when I was younger, it was like everyone was just everywhere. So you had Handsworth, Newtown, everyone was just flowing around. That was a thing.
Did you grow up with both your parents in the household? How was it for you living at home?
Yeah, my parents, I grew up with both. When I was younger, I grew up with both my parents. Mum and dad. Yeah, my growing up, I had a good foundation, I had a dope foundation furthermore. Yeah, so yeah, it's strong. And yeah, man.
How do you feel that kind of played a part in shaping you, in compared to how others may have grown up? Because we hear a lot of excuses. Well, we can't say excuses or not, but we hear a lot of sort of people saying, "Oh, my dad went around, and that's why I went wayward." So, do you think that's an excuse, or because you said you got with both of your parents, why was it different for you?
I think people play onto that excuse as well. They add on to it, but that is also a problem. So they're not like totally wrong. But when I was younger, I had my dad and mom, and that kind of was a good foundation. He helped me. Like, obviously, I had two like revolutionary parents, very strong in revolution and in culture, and very cultured. So I kind of had like a strong presence of self from a young age. Yeah, my dad was had a good dad, good mum. Obviously, everyone has their faults and whatever. And then they split up after a while. When I come to London, basically, I just come with my mum. And yeah, it was. But I don't think that like kind of like changed anything dramatically within who I am, except I had to be more my dad not being there made me have to be more stronger because you haven't got no like, well, call your dad. You can't call your dad. It's just me by myself. So it kind of made me have to like step up my game even more, if anything. Yeah.
And when you came to London, how old was you?
When I came to London, I was 9 or 10. 9, just turning 10.
Yeah.
When I came to London.
So how was you kind of academically at school? Was you one of the top set, middle, struggled a bit, needed extra attention?
I was one of those kids. Like I was good at school, you know. I was good in my work, but you know what it was. I was one of those kids that I was just up front with the teachers. The teachers used to like me because I say like, you know what, miss or sir, I don't like this work here. I don't like it, and I'm not gonna do it. There's no benefit to me. And they were kind of cool with me because I explained to them, like maths. I'm whack at maths. I didn't like the whole maths thing. I didn't know what was going on. They show me numbers, it just looks like blurry images. I didn't know what was going on, so I just used to not take part in the maths thing. But I was good with making money and stacking. But it's not the maths work. I wasn't good at it. Yeah. So. And
what about behaviour-wise?
Behaviour-wise, I was good. You know, I wasn't. I was good at school. I used to respect the teachers, respect the classroom. Obviously, I was like a joke. I would bust joke and all that with the man then, but I was cool as in behaviour-wise. My probably bunking school and that was kind of if anything was to do with misbehaving, was like missing school, not going to school. I think up to like was it 12? It's like year 8. After year 8, school was like basically made a myth for me. After year 8, so probably 2 years of like doing the school thing, and then like 8 from 8 to 9 it was a myth. I went to William Penn in Dulwich. So it was like a mix of Peckham and Brixton. So I basically grew up with a lot of the Peckham lot. I used to go Peckham, McDonald's, Riley, you know, in the arcade place, playing machines and all that. Yeah, so that was my behaviour was alright.
So when was the kind of what music was you kind of into in that period? Like what would you kind of listen to? What was the sound at the time?
At that time, I've always been into rap. From rap came out, I've always been into rap, and obviously dancehall was a big thing those times. Dancehall was big, and at the time, jungle was massive. Jungle music was massive. So I used to sneak into the raves when I was in school, like the night before, wake up, go to raving, go straight to school. We used to do that kind of flex. Yeah, so yeah, that was a kind of thing for them days, the jungle scene and all that.
Do you remember sort of spitting bars around your first kind of lyrics?
Nah, I can't remember them days. I can't remember what lyrics I've been kind of spitting on. But yeah, them days was straight crud. If it was lyrics, it was a straight crud. It was straight. Yeah, it would probably be the straight violence sometimes.
Why do you think that was? I'm looking back, just not to cut you, sorry. Just looking back, sometimes when I look at sort of garage, when kind of garage came into it, right? I remember your kind of soul, solid crews and so on. No one was kind of talking wicked. Yeah. I'm trying to think back.
No, that was you're even talking. That was later. That come way later. So before that, before the garage era, it was you had like the jungle MCs. You had like Shabba, Skibbity. You had all those guys. Was
it not more vibe there, or were they actually talking gang stuff at the time?
No, it was vibe. There wasn't too much wicked man talk, and only when the wicked man talk was more coming from the dancehall scene, the DJs. I'm saying to you, they were talking more like gunman ting and yo suck your mother and all that. That was more the dancehall scene. And then after when it was it was like the rap dancehall scene, jungle kind of thing, and then after a while the garage crept in. The garage crept in. I remember when the garage first came, and he was like, "Whoa, what's that?" And the man were doing their thing. Everyone was like, "Yo," like so. When the garage come, they were like speaking. The MCs were kind of like we saw them as speaking on behalf of us from the streets. I'm saying to you, so like even when Maxwell D and them would come out, it was serious. Like those songs was like we took that as like that's our people talking to us.
Yeah,
that's how we took on the street.
So I mean, talking back onto the streets then, when was it kind of that transition for you, like when your eyes kind of open to your kind of surroundings and what's going on, and then, oh, I'm on road?
To my surroundings. What do you mean, like when I first, like from school days into the...
Yeah, so when was that? Because you're a kid, you're growing up, you left Birmingham, you moved to Brixton, you're still kind of innocent. When was your innocence taken away, basically?
No, you know what is it? Even at that point, I wasn't... Okay, so I first got arrested in Birmingham. There's a place called like a centre place, like a little supermarket place where they sell clothes, like called One Stop. They just opened that centre. It was like a one-stop place. I had shopping in there, McDonald's, all that stuff. So I went there with my sisters and that was teeth in, clothes and all that. I got nicked. I must have been around 7. That's 7 or 6. That's kind of my first introduction to that kind of police and all that. I was 7. And then, yeah, I was getting into little little mayhem here and there. And then like, so I've always been, like I grew up on the street. So the street there wasn't no time where I just got, like, it was like, oh wow, I'm on the streets. I grew up on the streets on Birmingham. I was on the streets from like 3. I just grew up into the street culture. Like a lot of my like family friends and like that, a lot of the big boys, they was already on the streets. So like I was one of those youths that just grew up on the streets. I was outside from young. I was on the road from young. I was doing things from a young age. So by the time I come to London, I'm used to being on the streets. I'm used to running around wild. Like when all the other kids can't come outside, like I'm the youth that's knocking on your door and then your mum's like, move from the door, man, how come you're still outside? Like I'm that youth that's knocking everyone's door, like I'm outside all the time. So yeah, so there's that, I was always out. Like I went to, from like, cause all of us like that, when most of the man, then we went to jail from like, man was going to jail from like 13, between 13 and, for like 14 and 16, a lot of the man then went to jail. So, and that's when everyone else was in school. So we got introduced to a lot of things like from mad early.
What was your kind of ambition? What did you ever want to be as a young man?
Do you know what? As grown, I always wanted and always knew I was going to be part of like a revolutionary kind of movement or something revolutionary, because I grew up looking up to people like Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Patrice Lumumba, like all these kind of people. That was my people that I kind of like got introduced to. I used to read about. So those were my heroes. So I wanted to also follow suit and contribute to our community and also open up eyes. So that was all. I always had a different kind of outlook on things from enough of the man that I was around. Yeah, so I always wanted to be. I always knew I was going to go into that field. I wasn't. I like, you know, other people want to be like accountants and they got like a job title, teacher or something. They want to go into that kind of field, or engineer or plumber or something. Like I never used to think about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So when was your first time going into prison? I know you said that you guys were going in from like 13, 16. And how many times did you end up going to jail?
I went to prison. My first time was 15, just turning 16. That was in 95 or 6, 95 or 6, yeah, 95 going to 96.
Yeah.
That was the first time. Yeah, that was for a robbery. At the time, that was our thing of making money. Like the youths got their way of making money. Now our time was steaming. That was our thing. Same way it's robbing banks, licking boxes. That was our thing. That was a street thing there. That was our little hustle for the streets. And yeah, that was our hustle. That was our thing.
How was it going to prison for the first time? Was it? I always ask people who told me they're going to prison. Did you cry?
The first time, no. Do you know, no. When I first went to prison, I didn't cry the first time. No, a tear didn't bust my eye. I tell you when a tear bust my eye, when I got sentenced. And I got sentenced, and then I think I went back to. I got sentenced, and I went to. The judge must have said, yeah, 3 years, whatever, 3 years and a half, or whatever. Boom. I went to Osprey. Dusty Osprey. I think I was banged up with Delphon from Ghetto, and I was in. Before I went there, boom. I must have like I was thinking, raw. This is long. You know, you get the thing with your date on it with the release date. It was like 90, 99 or 98 or something. I was like, oh my days. Remember, the world was supposed to end in 2000, and I was like, this is long. I remember sitting down on my bed and the tear dropped down my eye. I was wounded. I was like, raw. This is long.
How was the conversation with your parents at the time? Had they already anticipated this, or did this come as a shock to them?
No, my mum, or because of my behaviour previously, my mum kind of knew where I kind of knew. My mum knew, and I kind of knew we were going down this direction. Was gonna heading towards prison. There was no. I was getting arrested like 3 times a week. There's definitely I'm going to prison. There's no doubt about it. And so I kind of knew I was going to prison. I was expecting to go to prison. I always knew I was going to go to prison. But it's just that when it hit you and you're in that cell, that dusty cell, and you're sort of like, oh, I gotta be here for so long. That's what it was. But yeah, that did hit me still. It wasn't like, it was just like another one tear. And then that's happened to me. I went the second time, that one tear came down again. So it's like it's that one tear thing that just come down. I was wounded. I was like, oh, piss.
What is it about the first tier that didn't make you learn that you needed to experience the second tier?
You know, I think it was the first. I still had that fire in me from the first time. The trouble is, and I tried to change occupations. You get me? So the first time was for bank robbery, and the second time was for shotting, for selling drugs. So I tried to change my whole thing, but it went pear shaped. The same thing. So that's, I kind of like tried to think, okay, you know what? The shotters that I see, they don't look like they're getting nicked. They look like they're staying out for longer than everyone else. So I went on a different road. But that was kind of I was always in and out of the hustling with whether it's the drug selling or the robberies or whatever. So yeah, that's went on that road and didn't do no justice neither. Straight back in. I went back in again. But,
what would you say? Because we've got a lot of young listeners that always listen, and we never like to kind of glorify things and let people kind of understand. What would you say was the hardest thing for prison for you? Like, what is it that like made you feel like, nah, this place ain't for me?
What was one of the hardest things? So what was it? It would just be in prison was the hardest thing for me. Just be in the prison. Like I love freedom. I'm one of those people. I just like doing my own thing at my own time. I like open door, going outside. Like that was just so hard. That's the freedom was for me. Was like, well, just being told to stay in this cell and you can't do nothing. And that was. Or when you're in a cell and some random crackhead just comes in your cell, like they put some random guy in your cell, like I was mad for that, like all that non-control thing and no freedom. That's what done it for me. I didn't like that. I was mad for that. Like I didn't like that. I think that's what done it for me. Like obviously, you love looking at women, you love looking at people. You love outside, just looking at and doing things. That you're not being able to do that and just stare at this wall. And then these crackheads and hearing all the shouting and that just done my nutting, man. That was a joke thing.
I remember I went to Brunswick Park Primary School in Camberwell, and I remember being in year 5, maybe year 6, and of course being from Peckham, I hear about the Peckham boys. I grew up in Gloucester Estate, but I remember being in Camberwell because it's so close to kind of Brixton. I used to hear, the 28s. Oh, there's some ruthless gangs. So in my head as a young man, I'm thinking, I see them as a sort of superhero people. Like, who are these 28s that everyone kind of talks about? And you guys became the offshoots of the younger 28s. I mean, talk us through the process of how that even happened and what you knew of the 28s before you actually became the younger 28s.
Yeah, so the 28s was like, they were just like, that's everyone knew about the 28s. Like, everyone wanted to be a part of 28 or know someone in the 28s. That was just like, everyone was, that was the main crew. In London, I say, all you hear about is the 28s. Then you had the younger 28s, then you had the younger 28s. And then, so I wasn't at 28, and then saying to you, all it was, I had a lot of friends that were 28s, where the older ones, the younger 28s, and the younger 28s. So I was always surrounded by 28s. So people just always assumed, well, he's a 28 because he's always around the 28s. But I actually wasn't. I was just from the estate Angeltown in Brixton. I'm saying, so I was just one of those people that were popular person from Brixton. That's what it was. And they was like, 28s played a big part in the culture, the dress code, the behaviour of a lot of the people in Brixton. The older ones, the younger 28s, obviously they're the ones that set the kind of like the steaming, and they kind of, that went all over London. Everyone started doing steaming after they set the pace. And saying to the younger, they kind of set the pace. Then I started being the younger ones under them. We had there was another separate set of men from Brixton that so you had like me, Cluffy, Bommy, K-Nuts, so the bad.
Big up Cluffy, man. That's my guy still.
You had Ging, Fat Shane, D-Go. There was like a whole bunch of other ones that was from Brixton and that weren't 28s, but they were also the man them as well. So that was like I was around them as well, and I was also around the younger 28s as well. So it was like it was like a whole lot of us.
So it comes from that PDC is born, and this is kind of just in the era of YouTube starting to grow, and we're hearing PDC. How did that come about? And we'll get into what the movement stands for and what it means now. But PDC at the time, what did it mean for you as a person and as the creation? What was it?
PDC for me was more, it was, at the time, I saw it as, it was the elders were doing like a lot of like making their money, doing a lot of stuff on the road, running around, and Pilled and Crew, I just heard Pilled and Crew, we was also doing robbing, and they were being our elders. It wasn't even a thing of like, you know, it's like, well, you plan something. It's just that people have started saying, oh, that's Pilled and Crew, like the Pilled and Crew on, like, we just started, you get associated with the people, because we're the younger ones, we just got associated with the elders. And yeah, it's Pilled and Crew. Then me and Montana, I went to, after I got kicked out of William Penn, I went to another school called Lillian Bailey's, and I linked up with Montana there one time. His mum just passed away. Was at his house chilling. We kind of caught a good vibe. You get me? Me and Montana, when we became close, and I went jail, and I bucked him back in jail. We was writing in jail. When we were in jail, we were all writing each other. I think there's a couple of us writing each other. So it was between me, Montana, Aswad, Yusuf Scott, and a couple of us. We was basically writing each other. And then boom, I think one time Montana wrote me, and he's like, yeah, peel them at the end of the letter. And I was like, raw. What's that? Like, get me about. I heard about it before, but when I was in jail, I was like, oh, that sounds hard. Like, then he was like, yeah, boom, the new thing, pilled them. I was like, okay, cool. When we come out of jail now, we start linking up, and that name just stuck with the man them, and we started like, I always said, you know what? Let me turn. This has to change. We're not gonna be robbing forever. So we need something to add into it. I've always been a businessman, so I said, you know what? Let's add something into this so we all can rap, and that's kind of how Pilled and Crew got. Mixed with the music.
I mean, I just want to touch on something quickly there in terms of writing letters. It's a forgotten art, I would say, because I know we live in a technological world. I think in schools now everyone's having iPads, and writing is not the same. But the importance of actually writing and receiving a letter in jail, the comfort it gives you. Can you give us a little bit of expression on that, please?
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I remember being in jail. I remember being in jail, and you hear the keys walking towards the cell, like the landing, and it's like you notice the time when they're giving out letters, and you hear the keys walking, and you can hear the letter come, the man coming closer and closer to your cell. You know, you're thinking, yeah, there's definitely a letter for me today. And then he comes right to your soul, and then he walks past. Oh my days. Oh, that feeling is horrible. And he gives letters to all your brothers, and your brothers like, yeah, man, got letters. And you're just sitting there like, rah, no letters, you know. That feeling there is not nice.
Nah, it's mad because I think now everything's changed, technology. Everyone's got phones now in jail and that as well. By the time like receiving a letter, it's like it makes your whole day.
That makes it a whole day, and then plus then sitting down. You know, man will have like, see when man's replying there, man's sitting down, man's got the biscuits there ready, man's got their tea, man's got the whole thing set out. Man just came out the shower, man's comfortable. Boom, man's writing the letter properly, like. Man's writing it, and man's taking time. Man's like, it's like a big thing. Like, man, like this is serious. And where you see it, where you put your stamp on it, everything just done properly. Like it's like, yeah, and you send it like it was a big thing, but the letter was serious.
Nah, I hear that. I mean, like I said, we're back on road now. PDC is the movement. It started, and you guys are transitioned into music. Now, at the time, a few crews are doing music. Garage was just kind of dying down. Grime was kind of there, but the beginning of road rap. When people told me about road rap in UK, I think PDC, I think SN1, I think Mashtown, I think North Star. Like, do you recognize that you guys created the birth of this sort of street movement?
100%. That was definitely those crews was definitely like the birth of a whole new. And there was people before us. Don't get twisted. There was loads of people before us. You also had SAS. You also had who else did you have again? Obviously, you had Mike. There was loads of other people that was also before that time. There's a few people. There's been rappers before that time, but for our generation and for that type of raw street estate kind of rap, street road rap, those crews were the main crews that set that whole pace and kind of like brought it to a whole different generation. And yeah, we kind of like had a big part to play in that push, 100%.
And at the time, also, you had lots of rappers coming in and jumping on the bandwagon and everyone doing it. Did you ever, at the time, really believe it would have been more than just a hobby? Did you think, oh, there's money in this like the Americans, or you know what, man, they just do this, it's a vibe, everyone in the UK is doing it, make ourselves popular, or did you see the long-term vision in it?
Yeah, I saw the long-term vision. I've always seen the long-term vision in the music. I always saw it. I speak to everyone about it, like everyone. I always say, listen, if we can organize this properly and push forward, we can make a big impact, and we can have some serious ownership for the future. But at that time, like, it wasn't streaming enough. Things wasn't developed, so it was like a pipe dream. People was like, Judge, man, that's long, man. So the vision wasn't there. I understood it, but a lot of people couldn't see it. So, but I always knew that this is going to be big. If we can kind of like organize it and get things into like contractual and agreement based and build some platforms, we'll be in a powerful position in the next 20 years. I always knew that. But explaining that to the man, them, it was a myth. That message was a myth at the time. It was like some of the man was heavily on road, like heavily. Too heavy on road. Like, so to hear that kind of pipe dream then is like a myth. Like, man are just too, man are having some, I
mean, how did that keep you motivated? Like the man, yo, you man, you're trying to rally everyone, and they're like, oh, alright, cool, man, we're doing our thing. How did that kind of motivate you? Did you feel like, fuck this yourself at one point, let me just jump back on the roads and do, because at the time there's no money in it, so everyone has to kind of dabble in and out to kind of make ends meet.
Yeah, so, no, it was, do you know what, I understood that, you know what, I'm gonna have to make a sacrifice in kind of like pursuing this vision. I always knew that. So not everyone's gonna understand it and not gonna all take part. So look, when the man was like doing their thing, there was a lot of beef going on. So that man was getting locked up for life. People was dying. There was a lot of things going on. I had to kind of keep straight, knowing, you know what, in the future, this is gonna, man, am I gonna be thankful for me for what I'm doing. And yeah, that's how it goes. Obviously, you lose friends. I lost friends on the way. That's standard, because not everyone understood the dream. Like, they was like, oh, no, my man's going soft. My man's this, my man's that. Like, so obviously, you got to deal with all that as well. So it is what it is. But yeah, I just carried on. I stayed motivated. And a lot of people go in jail, getting life sentences and dying. That kind of was like, you know what, kind of giving me the fuel that I needed, saying, you know what, that I'm definitely on the right road, because I can see that this is just destructive. Yeah, so I knew that what I'm doing and the building of the whole kind of music and the platforms was going to pay off.
I mean, you talked about sort of being the first one to kind of start making those changes. You're kind of one of the first people that started kind of doing interviews. I mean, I done an interview with Jeremy Carl last night. He tried it, but like, you were kind of the first people we were seeing on TV with the ITVs and BBCs actually coming to you. I mean, when you're doing those sort of things, how's the street looking at you?
When I done a first interview one time, and everyone was called like, "Bro, it's on TV." Then I done another one, and I can't remember what I was talking about. And then they was like, "Nah, you shouldn't be on TV talking." I think I was talking about my book, I was talking about something to do with the streets. And then a lot of the man didn't understand. They was like, "Nah, you shouldn't be on there talking that. Like, you're not supposed to be on there. Like, make someone else do it. Like, get someone to, you tell them what to do, and then make them represent you." That's what they was all saying at the beginning. I was like, nah, man, I'm doing it myself, man. Like, I'm not, I'm my own man, you get me? I'm not a yes man. If I want to do it, I'm doing it. So I did make some mistakes along the way, because I was learning as well. So I made loads of mistakes. Like, I didn't know that the journalists would like interview then edit it and bring it out a certain way. I didn't understand that at the beginning. So they got me a couple of times still. When I watch it back, I'm like, oh, I didn't say that, I didn't do that. Oh, and then I saw the manipulation that they can do, but at the beginning I didn't understand, so it took me to learn that after. I took a couple of blows because of that, so but it is what it is. No,
because I mean, with Big Ego itself, how it started in 2020, I was getting phone calls, my brother was getting phone calls, like, what's your brother doing, man? Why is he talking everything? Why is he saying this? Why is he saying that? And I guess nobody quite understands at the beginning what you're actually doing. As long as you got your vision and purpose of what you want to do, quite everyone knows that, oh, you know what, we love what you're doing. And I see the interview done with Pound Sterling when you kind of talk about the same thing. When you're the first person to run through the wall kind of thing, you're the one that's going to get injured, but you've broken down the wall, now everyone else can go in. And going on from that, just to touch again on that, on PDC, what do you think was kind of missing that they didn't take that next step? Because I say this the same thing with Mashtown, and like it was kind of just maybe just gigs. You kind of took that, and then everyone knows like K Coke and them lot came afterwards. But from the originals, what was it that you guys were missing for that extra?
We was missing the platforms, remember? So we was missing the YouTube and the streaming. If we had YouTube and streaming at our time, we would be gone. Yeah, we just didn't have the resources. You know, at the time, the resources, the biggest thing to get on was like Westwood. Yeah, Westwood was like the biggest thing to get on. That's how you got out there. So if Westwood ain't playing you or acknowledging you, then it's curtains. And then there's no freestyle platforms. Like Charlie stuff came out afterwards. So there's no you're freestyling on DVDs, and they're not really you're not really making money from that. So even though we're on the biggest DVDs and that, you don't really see money back from those things. So that's we missed out on a lot of money. So we had the buzz. We had like everything else. We done everything right, but there was the monetization part. There was no platform, so we missed out on our money. That's just how it is. And yeah, and then remember I said as well in our interviews, it was pop. The scene was pop. Yeah, England was pop. England wasn't how everyone keeps forgetting how England is now. It wasn't like that before. Like the man then didn't like anything to do with like street or anything cool. It was all like boy banish and girl banish, and you have to look clean, and it was a whole different approach. Like it was nuts. Like I'm saying to you, like if you see a rap group with like three black boys and one white girl, it was like everyone was trying to get that was the image everyone was trying to go for. Like, and then we was like, nah man, I was like, that's dead, man, I ain't doing that. So that's what it was, and we wasn't conforming to the scene at the time. That's why no one was making it. After a while, then a couple of people started trying to conform and trying to like kind of mix it. I'm saying to you, so we had certain man that were trying to do the street thing and make it kind of a bit more commercial, like add a little R&B singer into there, and that kind of started changing over time. Yeah, I'm saying to you, then the YouTube era come in, and you had like Joe Black, K Coke, and obviously gigs and all them lot came through hard, like, and it was. The scene was it's a good scene, man. It's what it is. I
mean, in regards to yourself as well, you're known as one of the top writers from that time, right? What made you decide to go with an American accent at that time? Because everyone's like, no, he's hard, but we're not feeling the accent. Yeah. Why did you decide to take that angle?
It was before. You know what it was? We started. I think was it me and Montana. I don't know why I started. I don't know how that started. I don't know how it originally started, because there was a guy called Reedy. He was a 28. He's the one that used to like help me rapping and that. He used to rap, so he's kind of like showing me the ropes, like boom boom rap like this, where. And I just think I never used to rate England. Yeah. I never used to rate England, like, so when we was like on the streets, I more related to the American and the Jamaican hustle and the way of life. I didn't relate to the pop stuff. I didn't relate to nothing in England. Like I didn't relate to no pop stuff. Remember, like everyone likes football. I don't watch football or nothing. I was just like I don't play football. I played it a little bit, but I wasn't like into it as much as everyone else. Yeah. I wasn't like, so the English scene. I wasn't rating it. I'll be real. I wasn't rating no one in the English scene. So that's kind of like what more influenced it. And then. Yeah, and then when I was supposed to stop, I carried on to. When I was supposed to stop, a lot of people was rapping like that as well, in American accent, and they stopped. Then me, just being ignorant, carried on for a little bit longer. Was your friends telling you, like, was you hearing a backlash at the time? At the time, everyone was rapping. It was only, I think it was Scheme, Sterling told me one time, so I stopped around 2000 and, what album was that? 2007 or something like that, 2007 or 8, I think I stopped doing that. But by that time, my popular songs, some of the popular ones I had already been bossed in the American accent. Yeah. So I kind of got stuck with the stigma. Even when I stopped doing it, the stigma was still on me. Yeah. And that stigma didn't go until around like 10 years ago. It was still on me. Now it's cool, but back then it was on me for long. And I think it was only like three men that really didn't come to me and said, nah man, that's dead, fam. You know, drop that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying to you then. I took it on board and I said, you know what, for real man, let me just catch that thing there.
I mean, not to dwell too much into cases and personal things, but one of the people that everyone always kind of rated and having their top 10 is DV, someone that was like, you listen back to him, it's just, you're in the zone. It's like, forgetting everything that what's happened with him, had he been out, do you think he would have been making an impact right now? Because the reason why I say this, like, you still got people like K. Coke who's out, Joe Black who's out, Page is out, Dubs, all these people who still have been out and they've not really continued that music career. Is it something that he would have continued with? Because we see someone like Potter Paper who came out of jail and boom, took over. Yeah. So with DV, is it something that you reckon that he would just been regarded as one of the legend, or would music would have been something that he would have still been a part of?
Yeah, DV would have still been 100%. DV would have still been doing the music thing 100%. Like he didn't even reach his true potential. DV was coming, like he had a lot to still do. Yeah, he had a lot to do. Like DV was still going on, and yeah, he's dope. Like he had stuff just come out that would have been off the chain. I say to you. So yeah, he definitely been. He's still a legend. He's still in the legend, of course, especially amongst our peers and our movement, 100%. And he would have definitely gone further, 100%.
I mean, then it gets to a point that you write a book. How does that come about? Because I wrote books when I was in jail, and I guess again, I like to say you started a lot of things before other people. Yeah. 100%. Would you call yourself an influencer?
Well, I'm massive influencer. I would say.
No, not in the social media angle that we call it, but in the hood way, in the influence in terms of you've kind of started things way before everyone else, and what is it about that you think you're just a visionary? You see things before they happen.
I've always been a visionary. That's just in me from the street days, and I think when I was writing the book, I've just always been like, you know what, we can take it to the next level. I'm always like that. Let's take it to the next level. And I've always done that, and I don't care what everyone thinks, and yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, the first start of writing the book was a mission. It was like, then I said, no, let's write the book. And yeah, it's been a dope journey. Like, I'm happy I wrote the book, and I'm happy I got that kind of, like, it introduced me to a whole new world, a new audience, and a whole new fan base. So yeah, man, that was a good journey, and it helped me grow as well as an individual. 100%.
A lot of times we look at older people. Like, funnily enough, me and Tricky were just with some young people, and they're talking to me, say, "Oh, do you rap?" I said, "Yeah, I used to be one of the coldest rappers, but I didn't take it seriously, right?" They're like, "You don't rap," and Tricky's like, "Bobby, you rap?" I said, "Yeah, I used to rap," but I said, for me, it's a young man's game.
Nah, I don't believe that.
I know. I say this to say, right? I always thought that in America, Jay-Z still raps, Nas still raps, and so on. And that stigma has come within the UK that, oh yeah, it's a young man's game. And you just said that now you don't buy that. Do you think as older people we're still relevant to rap, and who are we talking to? Because I've been telling Joe Black for ages, come on man, come on. He's like, I don't see the relevance of me rapping now. I mean, what is it about the older generation that you feel that they can still do and they should still do it?
I see music as an art. It's an art form, so it's like a painter. A painter don't get older, he stops painting, or you see your art, it's your creative art. A poet carries on, everyone else carries on, so how come music we have to stop? It's like them old school singers like Ray Charles and them kind of people. Them man was going on till probably they passed away. That's their art form. And I think with us, if you're talking about like killing man and all that from you're a big man, and it's like, wow, bro, that's. If your content is not correct, that's different. If you're talking about bag of madness, then that's where it changes. But if you know if you're talking about what's current to you and what's real to you at the time, at the age you are, that's calm. That's your art form. So I believe that you should carry on. I believe loads of artists still can come out in this time now. Loads of man kind of like for instance, Joe Black is hard. There's loads of artists that are dope. And I would cheer them on. I would cheer on most of them, and then like, well, come do the thing, because it's your art form. Yeah, if I look out, right now there's some good stuff up, but there's also a lot of shit out. They still can't talk to some of the rappers. Still can't talk to some of the old school ones. That's facts. That's is what it is. And I'm saying to you, if you got your art form,
because I've been trying to, and I've been lazy with it, right? I've been trying to get something together where it's called either the originals or the classics, where I get the old school guys for the young people to understand who they are. So the likes of yourself, Paige, Joe Black, Tricky, Mark, whoever it is, and you come and do your freestyle, and just to a new audience, to a young people who might not know who you guys were, and say, oh, show a clip of you guys back in the day, and this is your transition now, and shows. Because a lot of these young people will rap in a certain way, they're not realizing as you get older, you're right. things change. You're not going to be rapping about killing people and so on. But that's just an idea that I've got. So no one try and steal it, you know. These big platforms,
that's a dope idea. Things like that, I believe those things are even that should be happening from a long time ago. Those things, those collaborations should definitely be happening. That's a big.
No, it's here. We're gonna make it happen, man. But you've gone on from these books and then Brixton recording studio. Is that I got it right? Yeah. So talk us through that. How did that come about?
So Brixton Recording Studios, I spoke to that studio when I was younger, and there's a guy called Earl that used to run it. Shout out to Earl. So basically he just, I spoke there. I always say I want to have a studio. I went to Atlanta and I saw how they was doing certain things. I come back and I said, no, I want to have a studio, and it just happened that he said, you know what, he's gonna pass it over to me, and I started the Brixton Recording Studios, and since then I've helped, like, from our studios, we've helped like loads of different artists come through, people, local artists, other artists, been given a platform, and it's basically developed loads of people. I've helped develop them, give them like a hub to go to write, to mentor, and from that grew into Brixton Recording Studios, into I got distribution, got the A&R services. I created a whole service from the studio. And then from that, now we had Brixton Recording Studios, and now I manage another studio called Brixton Village Studio, and now we've like added training into it, like training courses for young people where they can learn music, songwriting, Logic software, learn how to use plugins, just the whole thing. I'm saying to you, and they get like a certificate at the end of it. So I kind of each year I got further and further with building a platform. I'm saying to you, so it gets bigger each year.
And like just to where kind of the music industry has reached now in the UK. I mean, we look at, for example, Central C going global. Like literally everyone in the US are fucking with him.
Yeah.
I know you said that you kind of always knew that we would get big, but did you think it would be to this extent?
Yeah. I knew it was gonna get big, 100%. And if you look back at all my old interviews from back in the days, you hear me saying it. I've been saying it. I've been saying it's going to be massive. I've been saying it. I say to you, even when I done an interview with Young Spray, and he said to me on the interview saying, well, he remembers when he came to one of my offices one time, and I was telling them, I was saying, listen, this is going to get big. We don't need to change our content. We can still be street, and this is going to be massive. We just need to organize. He remembers me saying that. I said to loads of people. People that was in jail with me back in the days, they will all say, yeah, my man's been saying the same thing for long. I've been building and saying the same thing from back in the days. I always saw the vision, and I was trying to make everyone organize. Yeah, I was trying to say, no, we need to organize, then we can have it. Because what's happened now, we've let like even youths from our ends, we've let people come in, sign them, and they've benefited from it, and the ends hasn't benefited from it, and the people, the old school lot, haven't benefited from nothing.
Yeah,
I'm saying to you, so that's because we wasn't organized, and and even if you don't get organized now, the same thing will happen again. So that was always my thing. If we organize, it will just get bigger. It's gonna get bigger. It's not gonna stop. It's gonna get bigger. It's gonna go into like major films, major documentaries. There's gonna be major new artists coming through. It hasn't stopped yet. Like our run started.
And would you ever say, I know we've had sort of mash down on here before, and say one of the things that kind of therefore they didn't prepare, they thought there was a lot of blockages, a lot of blackballing.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that PDC were ever blackballed at any time where people were stopping you, the industry didn't want you to guys get in?
Yeah, our wasn't even like we thought it was a block. It was they said it like you can't play our songs on the radio. That was like said by the people at the time, the directors or whatever of the BBC network. So saying you can't play PDC. That was even like we thought it was. They blatantly said it. Like the people used to tell us like, yeah, you can't play, you lot will get in trouble. DJs used to play our songs and get sacked. Like it wasn't even like a thing of like hearsay. That was a fact. I say to you, the police raided the shops for the CDs. Like it was like, so yeah, it was a big block. But that didn't deter me. I didn't even moan about it. I just said, you know what? I just found other avenues to go down. Yeah. I didn't stop and like, oh, they're blocking me and all that shit. I just said, you know what? Let's go this route, or let's go that route, or let's rebrand and do this, or let's just, for now, if they're not playing our music, then let's put money into like this, let's put money into this field. That's what it was. I'm saying to you, so I've been lucky enough because I've created platforms. Like I'm not just an artist, I'm also a hustler.
Yeah.
And that's what's always kept me progressing, because I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler first. and I've always made money in the back end. I've made money off other artists. I've made money off documentaries in the background. There's things I've done out there that people don't know that I've been a part of. That's that I've benefited of. So that's kind of my angle all the time.
I mean, even in this day and age, people talking about in terms of blackballing and so on. Is that something that can even still happen? Because everyone now, you can create your own platform. We look at, for example, someone like Spray, who feels that no one in the industry likes him and so on, and he decided, I want to create my own platform, and he's getting views in it. So is it an excuse now for people to say I'm blackballed, or there's no such thing now?
Now you can still get blackballed all the time, obviously, but now it's harder for them to blackball you because there's so much platforms, there's so much stuff. Yeah, there's so much stuff to do now. There's so much avenues. Like, it's crazy now. You can do like NFTs. You can do NFTs. You can do your own projects. There's YouTube platforms, your own streaming. It's crazy now. It's people make excuses now is a madness. Like, it's nuts. Like, there's so much avenues and so much dope things you can do now. And even that's just not in music. That's in everything. In property. In every avenue is accessible now. Before it wasn't accessible. Now it's accessible.
I mean, one thing I've noticed is all that maybe it's because you're reserved and maybe you like to do your own thing. Like industry events, I never kind of see you always at these industry events. What is it about industry events that you say, no, it's not me?
Yeah, no, it's not even that. I don't get invited.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I didn't get. Why I never used to get invited. Why I still don't feel I get invited is because a lot of people can't be who they are when I'm in the place. That I always felt that from back in days. You can't be yourself when certain people are there. That's just how it is. It's always been like that. And that's what it is. I've been to, I told you who invited me somewhere. One of the gigs, his first parties, I think he's one in South, he had one in the, I can't remember what it was called, his birthday party, or it was an album launch, something. This was a couple of years back. He invited me to that one, I'm saying to you, and I've probably been to like around 3 invites my whole time. Yeah, that's just how it is.
But if he was invited, you'll go, was it?
Yeah, some of them I'll go to, not all of them I'll go to. Yeah, some of them. I've just always not really liked the fake industry thing. I'm just like that. Like, I don't pretend to be my friend. I don't like all that. Like, if we're friends, we're friends. Like, I don't like because you're artists, we can like pretend to be friends. I don't like all that. Like, like you like me at this day, but then you don't really like me in real life. Like, I don't really like that. I'm like a grounded person. Yeah. So like, if I show you love, I'm gonna show you love in real life. It's real. I'm real like that. It's not like it's a fronting thing. I think a lot of people like a lot of that industry stuff is very fronting. Like, cause you're popular, I'm gonna invite you. Yeah. Cause it's like,
yeah, I hear that.
On all that, like, that's a bit weird. And if you ain't got a buzz no more, you don't get invited. So you can have a buzz today, and then like next year you ain't got a buzz, so you don't get invited. That's weird.
It's fickle. It's fickle.
That's weird.
But like, we've seen again the rise of podcasts. You've been on a few, so we've seen Pound Sterling representing Southeast, myself doing Southeast, Margs and No Behaviour doing East London, Spray doing North London, Tricky doing East London. Where is the Southwest podcast? Where is it going to be that someone's going to take to the helm and say, we're pushing this all the way?
That's what I'm saying. Do you know what? Yeah, everyone was on to me like, oh, Jaj, start a podcast. But I was like, it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't really my thing. So I've been telling the man, like, oh, you got to start a podcast. I've been telling certain people like, oh, start a podcast, and that will help you. But I don't know. I think certain men are like building on the way now. They're trying to get something done, but I don't know.
Just get the confidence. Why can you do it yourself?
It's not me. I don't know. I don't feel like I don't want to do a podcast. I just don't want to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I might change my mind, but as it is now, I don't. I'll just come with like, come on, your one, come on. Yeah.
Where is the PDC documentary?
Oh yeah, so we got that coming. I'll be working on it. Yeah, I've been working on it for the last 2 years. Yeah. Yeah, so the documentary, so even just to write it and sort it out, there's so much depth into PDC. It's knowing what parts to explore. Yeah. Because it's so big. So and the film as well. So we got the documentary in the process and the film in the process as well. So we've been working on both of them. But what it is, because it's so in depth, it's taking so long, there's so much parts to PDC. You got to remember at the prime of PDC, there's like so much people involved in it, probably like over like 100 people. So it's just, it's a lot of stories, a lot of stuff interacting with each other. There's so much going on. Like there's so much things going on. So it's to get it tidy and into a narrative is a long process. So, but we've been working on it. It's gonna be the documentary is very like is gonna be good. So very good watch. Yeah.
I mean, we've spoken quite a bit now in regards to the different things you've kind of innovated, from starting to do the rap thing, getting people together, doing the book stuff, and kind of knowing already what's going to be happening next. So people are now waiting to say, let us know what's next that we need to be looking out for from the industry, that you're way ahead of the curve, that you already know that's happening. And what
Do you know what is here?
And why you're at it, maybe the lottery numbers as well, but...
Now, do you know what is here? I think the next step, and a big step for us in our community and our culture, is the training side and the education side of our creativity. I think we need to take more ownership. I think when we take more ownership of that side, we're in a very dope place, a very powerful place as well. So that's the heads up. I'm saying to you, I'm telling everyone that's the way forward. I'm saying to you, training programs, courses, education, owning our own education facilities and platforms, and yeah, that's to me. We need to own our culture, own the music, own our films. What we're doing right now is we're creating our stuff and then we're giving it away. Yeah. And we're constantly doing that. So because we're constantly doing that, we don't have nothing, and then the people coming up after us are struggling again because they don't have nothing to go into. And that's where I feel like we need our own establishments. We need our own big establishments: film, theatre, art, fashion, education, family institutions. We need our own ones. So that's where my focus is going towards. And also we also need our foot into the political system and operations. We kind of like don't have our foot in. I've seen like the Asians are stepping up a little bit more now and getting their foot in more into politics, and they kind of like, get me, that they're more involved.
I mean, at one point we had 3 powerful Asians in the UK parliamentary system. Yeah. We had a foreign minister, the chancellor, the exchequer. It's crazy.
So I believe we need also some better representations for our community as well. All communities should be part of it. Whatever community, you should also. It's not just about black people. It's about representing your community. We should all have representatives for our community in politics, education, in all the fields. And that's what I believe. But I believe it needs to come from certain street characters that we need to be involved in, certain big personalities and characters. We need to be involved in that and stop being so much like just in front of the camera. We need to also be behind the camera as well. Yeah.
I mean, just talking about that quickly in terms of our young people, even in the music industry, we saw, I think, Hardy Caprio come out soon saying he feels depressed, he's down, the music industry has kind of sucked him away.
Yeah, that's mad.
I mean, working with some of the young rappers and artists you work with now, how do you kind of take that advice that he's saying to them, and how do you kind of better safeguard them?
Yeah, not easy. A lot of the industry don't give people support with them with like personal development, things that's going on within them, financial literacy, like all that stuff is not taught or is not given or presented to a lot of the young people. So they're gonna go through some, like when you're in the industry, no one cares about like if your mum passed away, you got yourself from trauma or something's happened to you when you was younger, like that. They don't care about that because that's not to do with them. They see it as like, just make music. We sign you to make music, or we just want you to do this. Whatever the contract is, that's all we want from you. And that's why it's important for us, our own people, to be involved in the establishments and involved in our own art and culture. Therefore, when we are involved, it's like being a father. You're going to look after your children. I'm saying to you, because they're your children, you're going to have more love and support for them, and that's what we need to do for our culture and our platforms. and our artists. We need to be looking out for them more. There should be things where they can go, like certain therapy things that can go and speak to people and go and be a part of and then talk. Because the mental issue, the mental state of a lot of young people now is getting very bad. A lot of people I work with, like, it's proper bad. A lot of youths are stressed out. They're also trying to keep up to social things that are a lie. Trying to keep up to things that is a myth. Like they're trying to buy Porsches instead of cars. They're trying to buy things that's unrealistic. Yeah. So they're aiming for stuff that's like, should they be aiming for that right now? Like at this age, like they're doing. It's very unrealistic where they're thinking that's normal because of what they're seeing on their social media. So it's just things like that. These things need to be explained to them and kind of like broken down to them and the build up. I said in another interview, like, how can you got young youths at 14 to I'm the boss? Like how, bro? Like, you've just been there 14 years, fam. You haven't even done anything. Like it's crazy. You're thinking you know everything. You're thinking you're like higher than someone that's like 40 or 50 that's experienced more than you. They don't kind of like get that you have to go through their stages. You have to go through stages. You have to grow, and and develop into your character. At 14, you barely know anything. When I was 14, I look back, I was thinking I didn't know what was going on. I say to you, but I thought I knew a lot at that time, but I would have needed the guidance. I think a lot of the young people need that guidance. That's why it's important for us to own our establishments so that we can help and guide them.
And for what you said right there, at 14, 15, we hardly know anything. One of my friends, I went out over the weekend, and one of my friends was talking about one of our other friends who had stabbed another one of our friends. And he was saying that after that, I hated this person because of what he done. And I told him, my man spoke to me and he said that he's so sorry for that. But he said, you have to remember, I was 15, I was in year 10, year 11. I don't know what I'm doing, I'm in year 11. I'm as a grown man, I can reflect now. But when we're 14, 15, we don't know what we're doing. We're gassed.
Just gassed up, around wild.
And just to add to that, like right now, London's on fire in regards to the streets. Do you think, because for me, I can understand, I can hear what they're saying, but I remember 2007 being mad, and that was shootings and guns and everything. Do you think crime has become worse, or are we just talking about it more because we can see it more because of social media?
It's always been there. I was on the road from the get-go, so what's going on now has always been there. It's just that it's more publicized now because we got social media, so everything gets pushed onto the screen. Everything. That's all it is. We're seeing everything. If we were seeing everything back in the days, in the 90s, you'd have seen some savage stuff as well. But it just wasn't seen. So back in then, all you do is, like, there'll be certain gunmen running around wild, robbing everyone's, all the crack houses going on savage. But you just hear, it's like a myth. You're just gonna hear the name in the streets. Like, oh, my man's serious. You're just gonna hear it whispering through the streets. If they had cameras and it was a certain social media, you would have saw that person in the flesh. You'd have heard more about them. So it's the same thing. There was a time in I think it was 1998, 99, 2000, and everyone was like, all the man was wearing gloves in raves with the matches.
The golf clubs as well.
That was a savage time. Like the man was popping off that in certain sun cities and that. Man was outside having shootouts and all that. People was outside the raves having shootouts
but there's no cameras.
There was no cameras. I'm saying to you, that's all it was. So the things they've continued. It's been like a long time. It hasn't got worse or nothing. All it is, what I would say is getting worse is the things that are done for like minor stuff, like you're stabbing up people for like no reason, basically. That those things have gone a bit more intense, and like what you're stabbing people for no reason. That's got worse. But the actual stuff that's going on, that's been like that for years. People have been getting stabbed up and chopped up and shot. It's been like that. The jail, people been going to jail, and it's been like that. That's just how it is.
I mean, let's leave it on a positive note then. What would you like people to kind of know what's happening next? What's the last kind of message you have to any of your supporters, people who might be new to you? One last word for them, man.
Well, just what it is. Make sure you check out all the stuff I'm doing, the studio stuff, the training courses and all that kind of stuff, because we're looking to take that to a whole nother level with the artist development and all that stuff. Obviously, you're an artist and you need like certain guidance, support, help. Just holler at me. I'm accessible most of the time. And yeah, just stay progressive. I tell everyone to stay progressive. I'm saying to keep positive, stay progressive, and yeah, don't get caught up in the hype. We'll talk.
And that was the Big Eagle Media podcast with JAJA SOZE. Thank you.